Welcome to episode 2 in our year-long partnership with CSCS. Sean Kearns, CEO of CSCS, is back in the studio, and in this episode it is, I think, the biggest and most talked about topic, labourers' cards. So let's get straight into it. Sean, welcome. It's a bit of a bit of a one to start with, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right, let's look at it. First of all, let's do a bit of intro, background from the last one in case people missed it. Why should workers have a CSCS card? Then we can start looking at labourers' cards.
So the CSCS cards are proof that the individuals have the qualification skills to fulfil the role that they're carded for and for the job they're doing on site. Therefore, we ensure that the workforce is appropriately qualified and the card plays its part in improving standards within the industry.
Let's go straight to labourer card, also called green card.
Yeah.
How do you get one? What's the background to it? Now, there's obviously a lot more questions after that, but let's just say someone's coming into the industry. How do they get this labourers card?
So apply off our website. In a few months' time, you'll be able to also apply off the app, but for the moment, apply off the website. You need to have done the 𝗟𝗲𝗃𝗏 or an equivalent health and safety test, and you'll need to have done a level 1 award. With those 2 certificates, you can apply through our online application.
So Sean, recently people have been seeing there's these new rules for the labourer card. Why?
Yeah, so historically the labourer card's been used as a rat run. It's the easiest card to obtain.
Gets you on site.
Limited amount of information required to be uploaded. When you look at the CITB annual forecast for labour and labour supply, there's around a need for around 140,000 skilled labourers to support the skilled workforce. Yep. We've got in our scheme alone 500,000 cardholders, and across all schemes we've got almost 700,000 cardholders. So between 140 and 200,000 is what the demand is. So we've then analysed our own renewal process, and on analysing the last 6 years' data, of those 500,000 cards that we've issued, only 15% have been reissued. 10% as labourers, 5% of upskilled. So part of our question is going back to those that were skilled, they're now not on site or not having a card. Could be they've gone into domestic market where at the moment there isn't a card requirement, but from the conversations currently happening with 𝗟𝗲𝗃𝗏 and around BSR, that's likely to change going forward. So on the basis of the lack of renewal and the oversupply, we've brought in the new rules.
So what are they?
So the new rules are that first card, the first time you qualify to apply, instead of it being valid for 5 years, it's now, since the 1st of February, it's valid for 2. And what that does is, for those that are legitimately staying within construction, when it comes to renewal, they'll have an employer's endorsement letter as well, saying that they're staying as labourer. They haven't upskilled, or they're not at this point looking to upskill onto a 𝗟𝗲𝗃𝗏𝗏 red card, a trainee card. That card will be renewed for 5 years, and they won't have to resit their CITB health and safety test, provided it's within 3 years of having taken it. So there's no additional cost to have to resit that CITB test.
I'm really wanting to jump ahead to the big questions, but obviously let's go through this fairly sort of organically so we can explain to how we get there. there are rumours, and I think I've actually seen something. CSCS are looking at chatting with 𝗖𝗍𝗃𝗏 about new rules.
Yeah. So we don't set the standards as we discussed last time. We card to the standards that are set by 𝗖𝗍𝗃𝗏 and the trade organisations through the sector representative organisations. So all we do is card to that threshold. One of the elements that we're flagging back because of 𝗿𝗲𝗱𝗀 is obviously there are competence standards being applied to the qualification thresholds where somebody is now at competence threshold, so they'll be on a blue skill card as a minimum, maybe a gold card. So once they're at competent threshold, they'll be on a skilled card. For the individual labourer, they're below that threshold. They're not on they haven't done enough training to evidence that they can have anything other than the basic card, which is a labourer card. What's now clear is 𝗖𝗍𝗃𝗏, and this is the discussion we've been having with them for the last 3 months or so. 𝗖𝗍𝗃𝗏 now are saying that they're reviewing that level 1 award as to what other aspects needs to be incorporated into it because of all of the other changes to standards on core occupations. So it's not us that does it. It's 𝗖𝗍𝗃𝗏 and
let's just get this clear. You've reacted to a lot of noise.
Yes. Yeah.
LinkedIn and other platforms, and gone back to 𝗖𝗍𝗃𝗏.
Yes, because so therefore, quite rightly, we're hearing the chat. We're in the midst of it. We're very clear. We card to the standard, and if that standard is now needs review, which we've all agreed does, it's for 𝗖𝗍𝗃𝗏 and the sector representative organisations to do that review as to what needs to be added into that base qualification, and then we will card to that new revised standard. Until such time, the current standard is all we can work to.
$1 million question: you got any time scales on it? Have they fed back to you? Look, we're going to have this done in 3 months, 6 months, year end.
I can't give a timetable. That would have to be a direct conversation to 𝗖𝗍𝗃𝗏. But they now, it's now understood and it's well on radar.
Well, 𝗖𝗍𝗃𝗏 hopefully will be coming in the studio soon. Conversations are taking place. I'll leave it there. Right, this is the huge question. Let's get straight into it. This is the bit everybody wants to hear. It's not fit for purpose. It doesn't do what it says. It's not meeting expectations of Building Safety Act. It's illegal. What do you think?
I refer to my previous answer, I guess. It's the standard that's been set that we're carding to. If the standard is now changed, we will card to that new standard, and that's our job and responsibility, and to reflect back the aspects of comments that are coming to us.
Look, let's look at the positive, because there's a lot of negative noise. 𝗖𝗍𝗃𝗏 are now looking at that, and when they set that new framework, they'll come back to you and you'll card to that new standard. So I think that's a positive.
Yeah, absolutely. So for those that are on a labourer card that have a higher qualification than that level 1, my question is why? Because you've got a higher level qualification. Why haven't you applied for a route to competence card? Yes, you've not had to evidence much, but that's not the purpose of the card piece. It's not I need a card in my pocket to get on site. You need the right card for the right job.
Yeah.
And therefore, those currently holding a labourer card with higher skills need the right card.
Well, this leads brilliantly into one of the viewers' questions. We talked about this just before we started recording. Somebody has basically told me that they have a labourer's card, and for the last however many years, they are driving heavy plant diggers, dumpers, telehandlers on site. Now, let's be clear, that's not 𝗖𝗍𝗃𝗏 CSCS responsibility. let's just tidy this up. People can do it, but it's down to the contractor to continually check that. And CSCS cards, in my opinion, aren't being looked at often enough on a site. Because labourers shouldn't be driving.
Absolutely not. Right card, right job. It's to evidence that skill and competence to be on that plant. It's the contractor's responsibility. With building safety outcomes, more and more emphasis is on contractors to do that check. One of the tools we've now got in place, though, to help the contractors, that was released 2 years ago, and now with the API, we're getting real traction, is the Smart Check tool. And that therefore assists the site contractors to be able to check there and then the validity of the skills within that held by that individual on that card.
The people I've spoken to, my view is that we all know the time deadlines, the pressure of getting the job finished on time, on budget. Because of this, a lot of contractors are just getting anybody on site. And I know loads of lads and lasses that are walking on without a CSCS card because it's not a legal requirement. And do we need to make it a legal requirement? Because you can do your bit, CITB can do their bit, but if the contractors are just getting anybody in to push the job on, which is happening everywhere, it's piss take.
Yeah. So I'd love for it to be regulated. I'm not sure everybody and the listeners necessarily would want it to be regulated, but ultimately, if there's too much abuse of the voluntary system that's in place, it will likely end up being regulated. Why did the CSCS card come about 30 years ago? Came about because of the amount of health and safety related incidents occurring on sites because there was uncontrolled site risks. We've moved on with much safer environments now because from where we were 30 years ago, but those site risks have shifted, and with Gsell, it's the quality of the work that's being assessed, and the employers are using the card checking process to assess the quality of the individuals that have been on their site and are on their site operating.
One very blunt, I suppose it's not a question, but it is. There are far too many card scheme providers, it's too confusing.
There are 37 schemes. The majority for core construction will be issued through CSCS cards. That's a million, just over 1 million of the 2.2 million in circulation. But for those with specialist skills, those electricians, those plumbers, there's a clear carding route for them. For the applicant, the confusion may be there's lots of third parties out there, and we talked about this last time. So they may hit the third party website, not not the card the card website. Yeah. And therefore that's where you may end up with that aspect of confusion. We're reviewing how we might make some additional improvements. I've said about the app that we'll be releasing end of Q2, which will make it easier for applications via our card scheme.
Well, we could talk about this all day and all night, especially labourer's card, but we're going to be coming back to it later in the series, and then we're going to be tying into the fraud as well. So many hooky companies out there taking money off hard-working construction workers. But end of this episode, next one, industry accreditation.